kill me? And what is it you said when those people begged you for mercy? Stop it.
I need her to get nerfed in the next patch of Guilty Gear, am I right?
I need her right
Fighting
supported.
joke.
Did you kick him?
Okay. Hi everyone, welcome to Peak Fiction. Hi everybody, welcome to Peak Fiction Time, where today Hi everyone, welcome to Peak Fiction Time, where today we're going to talk about a manga called Berserk, written by Kentaro Miura, the now deceased legend himself.
That put
Yeah,
way
it's
too
kind of
much
like
effort
a-
into something that he only released every
Like 6 months.
Yeah, it's kind of like a niche thing. Like you shonen watchers probably never heard of it, you know.
Yeah.
This ain't your dad's manga.
No, the Black Swordsman is not Kirito. Stop it. Stop saying that. It's not.
Why did you type it like that?
So for this particular, we're actually going to do multiple videos on Berserk. We're not just doing one podcast because Berserk is too long. If the monster video is any indicator, Berserk is too fucking long to do. You have to, if something is that long, you have to like take it in bite-sized chunks and go.
Yeah,
part
that's
part.
true.
Yes.
So we're just going to talk about the first arc of Berserk, the Black Swordsman arc, which is not super long. It's just the introductory arc, and I recently made Pasta Man read up to the Conviction arc, but we're only talking about the Black Swordsman for today. What do y'all think of Berserk?
It is a very important manga. It should be in it. Every single page should be in a museum.
I thought you were gonna say it should be in school. I think Berserk's it's really good. Also, like really dark and intense. It's kind of like the face of dark fantasy.
It's probably.
At this point.
I don't think I've read a manga or just seen any. I mean, I've definitely seen darker media, but I don't think I've read a manga that is as fucked up as Berserk. I've read manga that are more gross than Berserk, like Made in Abyss. But I've never seen anything that is as, like, actually terrifying. Even though Berserk isn't supposed to be, like, a full-on horror. It's just supposed to be, like, a regular seinen political thriller with some fantasy elements.
You can find series that are, like, edgier on paper, but it's, like, it's the execution that kind of matters.
Yeah,
and Berserk nails that.
Yeah, Berserk gets locked in with these, like just these edgy anime, but like, oh, these are just edgy to be edgy, but no, it's actually pretty good.
Yeah, well, I mean, Berserk has a bad habit of being a little out of pocket sometimes, but...
it has out-of-pocket moments. Every dark series that is good has those moments.
But
yeah, I think that's something we could definitely talk about in the next arc, but it's not super dark in this arc.
It's still pretty fucked up, this arc, but I think...
Did you forget about that one bit with the...
Well, we'll get into that. I think this first introduction arc, the Black Swordsman arc, just because I'm the fucking guy who sucks off Berserk all the time, I think it's like one of the best introductions to a series I've ever read, ever. But, I mean, putting that aside, it's definitely a serviceable amount of dark, so if you can't handle it, then you just don't read it. Don't even bother, because there's no shame in it being too much for you just for this first one, because it does. Don't fucking remind me of that fucking meme. And I mean, the first thing that happens, the very first, like, the way this manga even opens up, before you've even gotten to, like, the first actual chapter, because for some reason the way this manga is structured is really weird. He did, like, 50 chapters. I'm just shitting out a number. I don't know how many it actually is. Like 50 chapters that are all labeled like A0E or whatever, and they're not actual chapter numbers, and I think it's supposed to be like the prologue, and then the actual story begins in the Golden Age arc, but not right at the start of the Golden Age arc. It's like a little bit into the Golden Age arc.
Yeah, I think it's sort of like a prologue. Like you get introduced to Guts, and you're like, man, this dude is messed up. And then you watch the Golden Age arc, and then you're like, oh, that's why.
I get it.
Yeah, man, what's up with this edgelord? Oh.
So for that first arc, which is like the very, very, very first thing you see, the very first indication of Guts that we like ever get, is kill yourself. First of all, is it's an image of him fucking a demon. He's like. He's having sex with
can I talk?
Yeah, go
Can
ahead.
I talk about this? So the very first scene, very introduction. This is your first presentation of Berserk. It is Guts banging a prostitute. The prostitute turns out to be a demon. Guts knew the prostitute was a demon the whole time, and he kills him.
Yeah, he uses his cannon to kill it. And
I don't think he needed to do all that.
Well, I don't really, he didn't need to
the
do
interesting
all that.
thing is that prostitute demon actually shows up again in the Golden Age arc. Like, I'm not going to spoil it because, like I said, this is supposed to be for the Black Swordsman arc, but he did that as revenge, essentially, towards them.
Yeah.
Because what you learn is that through this, I guess the first thing we're going to talk about is the Snake Baron, which is the first actual monster he fights outside of that prostitute lady. You essentially kind of pick up on he's like a badass and he's like hunting down demons. And it kind of for this arc at least, it kind of has a villain of the week structure. And the first major villain we get is the Snake Baron. So I guess we can kind of talk about that whole plot point and kind of what goes on there.
Actually, can I bring up something?
Yeah.
Okay, so I do love the introduction to Berserk, but I can see why people would also label it just like an Edge anime, just Edge alone. Just because like the first couple of chapters, like you see him fuck a demon, okay? It's like
Yeah, no,
yeah.
it does kind of have like edgy OC, like this is Darkseid the Hedgehog. He was getting revenge on demons because
because the Shadow the Hedgehog killed my brother.
Yeah, we are kind of going on a tangent here, but I do think part of that is Guts is like he was kind of the OG to a certain extent of that archetype. And a lot of people realized, oh, that's cool, that's edgy. I wanna be that too. I wanna make that guy too.
The interesting thing is that Guts was actually inspired. Like it was like Miura wanting to do a unique take on like Fist of the North Star tropes. So Guts is himself like a response to a trope that already exists.
Wait, oh my god!
Only for him to then create a trope of his own because. Not giving away too much, at a certain point he eventually has a little companion who is a young girl, and that became a trope in media, like the big burly tough guy with a little companion that's like a little girl. The first target we have of course is the Snake Baron, and essentially the plot is that Guts, he goes to this town that seems to be the people there seem to be struggling. And they're living in fear because their mayor is cutting a deal with this fascistic leader. He owns a castle nearby, and he is giving him people from his town in carriages and like shipping them off to this castle. And Guts sees this, and he kind of already has an idea of what's going on. And then we learn, and then this kind of leads to Guts going into a bar to ask some of the Snake Baron's men who are in a bar, like basically having them give him a message that the Black Swordsman is in town. What did y'all think of the bar scene?
That scene is amazing. It really shows off like how badass Guts can be.
It also shows off that Miura is like really good. Not just of like still panels, but drawing motion and combat.
Yeah, like, every swing of that sword, you fucking feel that shit when you read this. It's like, he puts so much emphasis on, like, the swing and, like, the impact.
Every time
you can
Guts
definitely tell from like just a still image alone that this manga, like the images in this manga have a lot of weight. Wait, well, I don't need to explain it. I was gonna fucking post that, you son of a bitch.
And that's actually the first panel where it's the fight starts, because it's like he's asking these guys, and the guys are being assholes, and what they're doing is there's this character named Puck that's up against the wall. They're like playing dartboards with him, like throwing knives at him, and that wasn't what happened in the anime. In the anime, it was a character we're going to talk about here in a minute named Colette, who was being sexually harassed by a bunch of guys in the bar, where they pour us a drink, so she pours one, and then they move the cup, and it spills on the table, and then they, like, slam her head into the table and tell her to lick it up. And it's just really, like, weirdly sexual, which is funny that the anime's iteration was more weirdly sexual and creepy than the
Wait, what? How?
The series definitely did not need more of that stuff.
Hey, gotta be more
what
faithful.
were they
gotta
thinking?
be more faithful.
But in the manga, it's just them throwing knives at Puck, and Puck is a little fairy elf thing. He's called an elf, but he's obviously a fairy that becomes Guts' companion. You go ahead and make a Zelda. Make a Zelda joke, Postman. Get it out of your
I'm not making a Zelda joke.
I wasn't gonna make that joke. The joke I was gonna make is that Puck is like the funniest manga character anyone has ever drawn, because Miura will draw a panel like this one, and then he'll draw Puck like this.
He will.
Yeah, like 2 panels later, like the next page is like that.
Yeah, you could
duality.
You could see a very gruesome, and I mean very, very, very detailed drawing of somebody getting cut in half, and then you'll just see Puck like that.
So, and there's even a point later in the manga where Puck kind of breaks the fourth wall. He's like, well, this manga would be really fucked up without me, so I mean, you gotta give me some credit.
Oh yeah, that's what we should probably bring up about Puck. He is probably the he's the little just think of him as the little buddy that tries and brings the best out of you, even though the main character fucking hates him.
He is the comic relief for sure.
In any case, after the incident at the bar, Guts gets arrested. So, like I said, this town is sending people to his castle. And Guts essentially finds out that these people are being sent to the Snake Baron's castle by the mayor, so that the mayor can kind of save his own skin, because these people are hostages. They're basically meals for the Snake Baron, because he likes to eat people, and he is sending groups of people to this castle to go get eaten, sacrificing them in order to, in his eyes, like, he says that he's doing it for the sake of for the other people in the town, like it's a small price to pay type thing, but really he's doing it to save himself, to keep himself from getting eaten.
Yeah,
and Guts,
politician.
Guts points this out, and so he gets really mad and tells them to torture him, and beat the snot out of him.
And
they do. And they do. And so they did. And they throw him in a cell, and then Puck comes back to him to see how he's doing, and we learn a little bit more about Puck. Puck, starts healing him with his, like, we find out he's got powers to, like, heal people, and then they have kind of a conversation. He sees this mark on the back of Guts' neck, which I actually have tattooed on the back of my neck. It hurt like hell.
Did you actually?
Yeah, I actually got the tattoo.
That's
you are
real.
so dedicated, Jesus Christ!
I can't help it. I am the realest Berserk dick rider.
My
I don't
brother-
care.
Berserk truther.
Top 1.
My brother in Christ, the demons are coming for you.
They literally are.
So, and it is funny too, I made the joke, because, like, the tattoo hurt after I got it, and I made the joke, it's like, it does feel like the demons are coming. Essentially, though, that's what that brand is. It means it's a brand that Guts has that means that the demons from the other world are coming into this world for him because he has been sacrificed to these demons. He's basically their food. And he has been fighting for his life because of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so Puck and him, they talk a little bit, and then he states essentially that he's going to let the Snake Baron burn this town to the ground so that he can come out and fight him, basically using the people in the town as bait. And that's why he went to the bar and caused that whole ruckus, because he knew that would draw the Count out. And this kind of shows a couple things about Guts, but particularly it shows that he values survival above all else. He even says, like, if I had to worry about ants that I step on, like, it was a really good line about, if I have to worry about every ant I step on, I couldn't walk, or something like that. And I just want to know y'all's thoughts on that.
I think that was like the biggest surprise for me starting Berserk is Guts is so much more terrible like that I was expecting.
Yeah, like everybody's like, he's one of the most beautiful main characters ever. He has a really, like, you just want to see him succeed. So you were kind of expecting like a Dr. Tenma type thing. Like,
yeah, I was expecting like a little more like generic like revenge protagonist where they're just, you know, beating up all the evil guys, but they look at you while doing it. But not like. Guts is like actually messed up.
He's terrible.
I don't think there's barely any good people in this entire manga.
That's true.
And he gets progressively worse over the course of this arc because he does a lot of terrible things for the sake of his revenge. And it's so funny because when you go back to this arc, I remember I showed the Golden Age to Beck before I showed them this arc, and after having seen the Golden Age, they actually completely understood everything he did and did not like have the reaction Pasta Man did where he's like, what the fuck? Because that's the part about it that's so impressive too, is that this sets up Guts as like an asshole and like a bastard, and you're like, why is he like this? And then you watch you go through the Golden Age arc, and then you get it, and you're like, no, okay, no, at this point, I do this. Team Guts.
I understand.
My top 5 MC for real.
This town's volcanic coming.
Bar fighters deserved it.
So, I guess we can kind of move on to the actual fight between Guts and the Snake Baron, because the Snake Baron, like the Lord Mayor guy comes up to him, he's like, I'm so sorry about the Black Swordsman, I didn't expect him to do this, and then the Snake Baron's like, well, you know what, fuck you, fuck your people, and fuck your attempts to negotiate, because the mayor's like, I'll send you twice as many people, like I'll do anything to save my people, and he's like, you aren't doing this for your people, you're doing this for yourself.
You're doing this to save your ass.
So he's like,
you're gonna run out of people eventually.
Another thing I thought was interesting about that whole conversation. Yeah, essentially. Another thing I thought was so interesting about that whole conversation was, like, in the anime, it's essentially the same, but in the manga there's an added detail that he like throws what he's like a piece of his food towards the mayor, and it like lands in his hand, and it's a human ear, and he like drops it and gets all freaked out. Yeah, basically the Snake Baron, there's not much depth to him as a villain. He's essentially probably the least deep villain in this story, because
he's like a mini boss.
He's probably the most just black and white evil villain ever.
But I mean, his design goes hard.
It does. He inspired the enemies from Dark Souls. Those little snake guys.
That's what I'm saying, bro.
Yeah, why does that look like Hank?
We could totally we could totally talk about the Dark Souls vibes.
It was too big to be called a sword. Too thick and too. I fucking love that quote so much, and they say that like 3 or 4 times.
What's going on in the?
But yeah, I think one thing you learn pretty early on in this series is that everyone in power is just terrible person.
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
it's true in real life.
it applies because it kind of
That's
applies
true.
it applies to the Snake Baron here because he's a fucking bastard who just eats people, but it also applies to the Pope guy because of that whole. He's tricked himself into thinking that he's a good person for sending his own citizens to go get killed, and then that turns on him like instantly as soon as the Snake Baron decides like fuck your hostages, fuck whatever deals we're doing. I just want to kill people actually, so I'm just gonna go do that. I'm gonna burn your town to the ground
eat 'em
and go
all.
fight
He's
the
gonna
Black
eat 'em all.
Swordsman. And so
How about I
he
kill
does.
you? How about that?
And so he does, and he burns the town down, and Guts comes out, and it's a pretty cool fight. And it got animated, like I said, it got animated in the '97 anime, and they did decently. It has some of the best animation of that whole anime, even though it wasn't a very well done, like well animated. It was a very well done anime, but it was not a very well animated anime.
Yeah, Berserk is. I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but Berserk is kind of hard to animate.
I mean, yeah, because Miura fucking puts so much in it that it's something that I feel like only a studio like Mappa would pick up, and I do not want them to do that.
Yeah. Who are the people who did the CGI?
What for the movies or the?
The one that everyone hates.
I think that was done
that
by,
was
like, 2 studios.
But it was mostly Liden Films, and they. You know what else they did? You want to know what other show they're responsible
Pokemon.
for?
Ah! Ew! Ew! Ew!
They're also doing the new Rurouni Kenshin anime. I don't know who you know.
Yeah. But anyway, what I was gonna say is I don't think
We go back to Berserk.
I don't think
Yeah, let's talk
CGI
about
was like
Berserk.
a terrible idea in theory. Because one advantage of CGI is you can have really detailed models, you know, and you can
And
animate
assets, and you can
those, and it's a
reuse them.
yeah.
And
But
we've seen
Berserk
good
and-
we've seen good CGI shows like Hoseki no Kuni, which is I'm definitely gonna make you guys watch at some point. It looks fucking gorgeous, and it's completely in CGI. Although some of the work is already done for it because the characters are anthropomorphic gem. But I mean, this is what it looks like, and it looks really fucking good. Berserk is a little bit harder because it has kind of a grittier aesthetic. So I don't know.
It's kind of like you can tell. Yeah, I think it's just because like you know that this is like a drawing, like it's a very lot of tracing kind of drawings. Am I explaining that well?
Yeah. No, I get what you mean. But back to the manga. The first fight with Guts and the Snake Baron is so good, and it's like it shows like it's pretty much the selling point of the series. It's pretty much the part that gets you hooked because it's like basically Guts fighting this guy, and then he kicks his ass with like I think he like shoots him with arrows and knocks him into this house, and then he comes out as a Snake Baron and breaks one of his arms or something, and then like he's holding on to him and taunting him like you know, he's like, you're weak, all you humans are the same, you're pitiful. And so Guts holds his arm out towards him and then like yanks on a rope with his mouth, and the hand comes up and it's a cannon, and he had an anthropomorphic arm the whole time, and he shoots him in the face, and then it skids back, grabs the sword, just cuts him in half, and it's so fucking cool. It's so cool.
Yeah.
You know what? I feel like he popularized that trope too. The second arm is, you know, is a prosthetic. The prosthetic that's also a weapon. I feel like he made that a thing too.
Usually you hear a lot of people say, "Oh, this is inspired by Berserk," and probably the biggest example that you'll always hear is Dark Souls.
Obviously, like everybody knows that
True.
they have made that clear that they are big Dark Souls fans.
Yeah.
There was like a
it's like a
tribute
little
to
fun
Miura
fact.
in
Yeah, it's like a fun
in
fact
Elden
that
Ring,
everybody
right?
knows, but people still try and treat it like a fun fact. Hey man, did you know that that Dark Souls was inspired by Berserk? Yes, everybody knows.
It's kind of like the Puckman fun fact, like Pac-Man, Puckman. Like, it gets thrown around so much, it's a cliche to say at this point. But there's other stories inspired by Berserk that I'm not going to go into. But a little fun fact I want to share is that Miura, when he did that, when that came out and he was getting into the thick of it with Berserk, he saw that in one of the Evil Dead movies, Ash got his hand cut off, and I think he replaced it with a chainsaw. And he got worried he was going to get, like, sued for copyright.
Wait, really?
Yeah, like, Miura was worried that they were going to get him for copyright, because he's like, wait, that was a cool... hold on, wait. I wasn't looking off his paper, I swear. Another thing...
I don't know if you can get copyrighted for that, can you?
No, it's too different.
You can get copyrighted for anything.
Even if it looked like inspiration, it would have still been, like, transformative, because it's completely different.
Yeah.
But he did get worried that he was going to get copyrighted for that.
YouTube wouldn't have agreed anyway.
But another fun fact is that there actually is a real historical figure who was named Gotts, and I don't remember what he had. I don't think he had a cannon for an arm.
But he had some weapon on his arm?
Yeah, he had some kind of weapon on his arm.
It's like one of those freaking like arm sword things, you know, the ones I'm talking about, like you move your arm and then like a sword comes out of it.
Wait, I think I know who you're talking about. Gotts of the Iron Hand is his name. Yeah.
And that was also, like, people asked him about that. Like, did you take it from that? And he was like, that is a coincidence. I did not even know that guy existed before I started writing his story.
History copied it from him.
History is looking off his paper. So, I guess we can kind of just... overall, I think the Snake Baron thing, it's simple. It establishes the story really well. It gives you a small taste of what Berserk is all about. I especially love that, like, narration when he first pulls out the big ass sword. It's like, it was too big to be called a sword. And they say this a couple times throughout the manga, but it became a meme, essentially. It was like, it was too big to be called a sword, too thick, too rough. It was more like a giant hunk of iron.
It practically is.
It was a bar. But I forwarded what Gabe said. Pretty simple story-wise and, like, character-wise. But, like, the action is great. The artwork is just phenomenal. And it's even more phenomenal how consistently detailed and good it is.
Yeah.
Truly a generational talent.
Truly the manga of all time. Bravo, Vince. Last thing I want to say about the Snake Baron thing. I also fucking love the part where he defeats the Snake Baron, and the Snake Baron's on fire, and he's, like, shooting him with his arrows. And then the Snake Baron's begging for his life, and he's just like, do you know how many people begged for their lives when you killed them?
Oh, I remember that now.
And you get to see his fucking unhinged smile, and it's just so good.
That's my MC. I love when Guts goes just feral. With the evil grin.
You can tell he kind of gets a
enjoys
joy
it.
out of doing it. Yeah, like, he fucking loves killing these people, these monsters. And again,
to be fair,
like,
though, it's just monsters. Who cares?
It looks unhinged out of context, but when you have the context, it's... Anyway, now we can kind of move on to the next section, which is the... It's a chapter. It's kind of the first indication we get of what we're dealing with here. It's kind of like the game and how it works, like what Guts has to go through every day. Because the next chapter is about his brand and how it functions. And he's like... The way it starts is Puck keeps following him. He can't seem to get rid of this annoying little brat. And he's, like, walking through the woods, minding his own business. It starts raining. And then a carriage comes by. And it's this old man and his daughter Colette, that woman I referenced earlier that gets sexually harassed in the anime.
I forgot about this.
God.
Yeah. So they say, like, hey, you want to hop on? I can give you a ride. And he's like... no, you trust me. For your sake, you do not want me to get on your carriage. I am being pursued by evil spirits. And they're like, well,
You will die.
well, we have a good luck charm here. And they point to Puck. And they're like, yeah, he'll keep the demons away. He's blessed by God. And you find the guy's like, the old man's like a religious guy. So Guts is like, fuck it, doesn't matter. I warned them, so it doesn't matter what happens to them. So he gets on the carriage, and they talk a little bit. And the old man is like a religious guy. I think he's like a priest or something. And the two of them talk a little bit about Guts and how he's a mercenary. Like, he basically puts two and two together that he's a mercenary. He goes chasing battle or mercenary.
Like certain military figures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or political opponents, I guess.
Yeah, and
They're soldiers for hire.
Yeah, and he basically tells him, like, I don't respect that line of work. I think that charging into your death is meaningless, and you're throwing your, like, my grandson or son or something, like, someone close to me threw their life away. And then Guts says another really fucking fire line. You're kind of noticing the dialogue to Berserk is impeccable. It's really good.
Yeah. Can I talk about that line?
Yeah. So
he says, can I please mention the 2016 anime, just like for reference?
Okay, yeah.
You can mention anything you want.
Okay. So in the 2016 anime, he says, well, I guess he was just lucky to die. And, like, it's supposed to be, like, this edgy bit, yeah, but, like, in the manga, he says, oh, well, I guess he was just happy what he was doing.
Yeah.
It kind of shows, like, a bit of humanity to Guts. Like, he's not being... Like, he has some sympathy for people, actually, and he's not, like, this just psychotic murderer.
Yeah, the way it's, like, phrased in the one I read was, he died doing what he wanted, no matter what, right? He was probably happy. And part of what hurts about that line is people started taking that line and applying it to Miura when he died. And saying, like, he died doing what he wanted. He was probably happy.
That is so messed up.
It's a very good line, but it shows Guts' philosophy really well. That he's basically like, do the things you want to do in life, and do your best to survive. Because I think the interesting thing about Guts is that he does not give up ever. Like, he has had the odds stacked against him over and over and over again throughout his whole life, and he never ever gives up. And that's kind of the main, like, the most interesting aspect of his character regarding Berserk, is that he clings to
survive, to just surviving at this point.
Yeah,
even if it's for no purpose. So I guess
that's kind of the appeal, the sort of romantic struggle of, like, keep going no matter what happens.
I think it's a very good message to spread. Like, you really shouldn't just give up just because things are bad. But, like, and everything has been bad for Guts.
It's really hard to think of characters that have, like, suffered as much, to be honest. I remember there was
I should probably bring up this meme. You know, like those Twitter people that would be like, ooh, this character suffered the most.
Name
like,
someone who suffered more.
You have not seen Berserk.
Unironically, the answer is always Guts, but I never directly say that because you're kind of opening yourself up to get made fun of on Twitter. People...
because... It's true, but you rightfully need to be made fun of.
So, anyway, we're getting off topic. There was also a part that we skipped over. It was written in my notes, but we neglected to mention the dream sequence that Guts endures when he takes a nap in the carriage. In this dream, he's naked and vulnerable, and walking down a corridor. And I think this does a good job at emphasizing how claustrophobic and overwhelmed he's become. He's set on a path and can only move forward. There's no turning back. The eye at the top, I think, is meant to represent the demon peering into his dream, and that could also contribute to why he's naked and vulnerable in this moment. It's not much to write home about, but I did find the part with the baby demon at the end very interesting. You're not actually going to understand what this is yet, but it comes up multiple times throughout this arc, and that's something we'll go much more in depth into in many of the later arcs of this manga. But I do think that this entire dream sequence is very visually interesting. It's just one small example of how great Miura is at symbolism, and just how striking his artwork is. He is a very talented man. And it is just a shame that he is no longer with us. Basically what happens is that soldiers of the dead start coming up from the ground, a bunch of skeletons with, like, spears, and they invade the carriage, and so Guts steps out and starts fighting all the monsters, and then at one point Colette gets possessed by one of them and attacks him, and for a moment he hesitates, and this kind of reinforces what Salt said about how Guts is not a psychopath. He's not, like, devoid of empathy. Because he hesitates.
Just a little bit.
He hesitates long enough for her to stab him.
Well, the thing is that like, it was an actual human being.
Yeah, and it was also a young innocent girl who, like, she didn't hurt anyone.
Not some monster that wants to eat people.
Yeah, and so after she stabs him, he basically realizes, like, okay, she's too far gone, and so he kills her and cuts her in half. And
yeah, that was one of the first moments of the manga that was like, oh, I'm sad now.
It's kind of depressing, because then, like, he finishes killing the rest of the skeleton monsters, and then he basically looks, because she cut off her the old man's head before he had killed her. She had already killed him.
Yeah.
And so he starts to feel guilty, and then Puck comes up to him and is like, being all sympathetic, like, it's not your fault, and then he quickly goes into, like, cope mode, and he's like, you're right, it wasn't my fault, fuck those people. He starts being edgy again. The main kind of thing you learn from this is that he has a lot, I don't know how, I'm struggling.
Bro has baggage.
Words. He's got a lot going on. He is struggling. And
this seasonal depression is kicking my ass.
It's just, damn, this life got hands. So, yeah. Basically, it just shows you kind of that he has gotten so used to this being his life that he's almost embraced being a demon in his own way, like acting like a monster much in the because
he's pretty much become like a cynical asshole.
His philosophy has kind of become like, you have to become a demon to destroy the demons. Like, you have to be as fucked up and as evil
like them too,
and as terrible as they are in order to take them out.
Yeah, he kind of has a survival of the fittest outlook, you know. You don't make it, you weren't strong enough.
And that's the thing too I love about it, is like the world of Berserk it's so fucked up. It's so fucking terrible. Everything sucks. Life is just shit. People in power are all just bastards, and they're all taking advantage of those beneath them. But Guts is out here cleaning the streets. He's the fucking the janitor. He's cleaning it all up.
Yeah.
So I guess we can kind of talk about, in general, just because the next thing we focus on is the Count. The grossest fucking villain ever.
Yeah.
So
dude was a freak.
I'll give you like a surface level establishment of who the Count is. He was another villain of the week, kind of like the Snake Baron. And he, much like the Snake Baron, he eats people, but he goes beyond just that. He is kind of doing his own little Salem witch trials, basically, where he's like having anybody who seems like a witch or seems like a traitor or anything, he has them killed and has their head cut off. Guts, he's basically Guts' next target. And so it was a pretty standard, again, monster of the week type of thing. But what actually surprised me was that, unlike the Snake Baron, there was actually a lot more depth to him than I had expected. And I remember when I read this for the first time, that actually shocked me. I did not expect him to actually have like a whole story, because he's so fucking ugly. Bro looks like shit.
He's kind of built like Humpty Dumpty, I'm not gonna lie.
Let me post a picture of him in the chat real quick.
Hold on, yeah.
Yeah, that's him when he was normal. This is him now.
Wait, he kind of looks like a really fat Kingpin from Spider-Man.
It's not always about the money, Guts.
It's not always about the money, Guts. Sometimes
It's about sacrificing everybody.
So this guy's a freak. This guy's a freak, and he I don't know. We'll get into him in a second. Because before we focus on him, he sends a soldier to go take down Guts, and it's another generic like fight scene of, well, not generic because it's really cool, but Guts fighting like 100 different soldiers, and he's kicking ass and taking names. And one of them is this guy who kind of looks like the Tin Man from Wizard of Oz, and he's got this hammer, and the two of them fight. And then he, of course, Guts does his usual thing, kicks his ass, and fucks up his face. And that guy later goes to the Count, and he basically is like, I need power, I need revenge, I need to go kill the Black Swordsman.
Oh boy, I don't know if I can show the image of what he does.
Go ahead and send it.
Do I need to?
I want to traumatize our viewers, because it's the grossest fucking thing ever. So,
we're posting cringe, we're gonna lose subscriber.
He goes to the Count. He goes to the Count and he's like, I need more power. He's like, okay, come here. And he like, that little thing comes out of his mouth.
Makes him eat the pod and then live in the bug.
And it's so fucking gross. Like, this one is very much so like body horror focused.
Yeah, this is something I also kind of want to mention. Like, a lot of the monsters, or like a lot of what happens in Berserk, is kind of like incomprehensible. Like, you don't.
The horror is beyond your comprehension.
Yeah, it's like man-made horrors beyond my comprehension.
Like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen this painting, but it's just like, it's supposed to be hell, but it's like incomprehensible on what's going on.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
it's like a pretty famous painting.
I remember.
Yeah, I will.
I know what you're talking. I think Miura literally said he was like inspired by that type of art.
Yeah.
Because a lot of his fucking drawings in this look like that. Another thing about like apostles though is that I think it's very interesting that all of them, every single one of them, despite being freakish monsters, started as men. Or women. They started as human beings.
Be inclusive. So
it always comes from within. It always comes from human beings. Like they did not just magically get. I mean, they did magically get turned into monsters, but you get the point. Like they were people before they became what they are now.
Yeah, this image.
Yeah, that type of art.
That's it.
Yeah,
exactly.
it's just like, I think what's scary about it is like, what the fuck is going on in this photo?
It's surreal. It's very surreal and strange. But anyway, so this another thing I find interesting about this soldier that goes to the Count, he gives him his weird baby mouth thing, and then he goes back to fight Guts. Guts like when he goes to fight Guts again, his head's all fucked up. He's basically a character from Parasite.
That is a banger reference.
Pasta Man made that reference when we were reading it. Where it's like, this looks like a fucking dude from Parasite. Like because his head does the Resident Evil 4 thing where it's a bunch of like tentacles with spikes on them, and they're like whipping around, and Guts is like blocking them with his sword, and it's really fucking cool. And again, you could not animate this. It's wild. It's fucking crazy. And he fights Guts like 3 times through this arc. Like he fights him the first time where he fucks up his face. He goes and gets the demon put inside of him. Then he fights him again using his like whip power. And then Guts like drops a bunch of rocks on him and then leaves. And then he fights him a third time in a tower, and it's so funny because like Guts, he's fighting him on a staircase, and Guts wins once again. He's overwhelming Guts, and then he's like, you can't defeat me because you keep trying to go for everything but my head. You have to hit my head to defeat me. And then Guts is like stabs him in the head, and he's like, thanks for telling me.
Thanks for telling me.
That's when like video game bosses are like telling you what you have to do to beat them.
and so after he does that, he's like, it's a really funny scene. But then like the head starts clinging onto the sword, and he's like, I'm still alive, bitch. So Guts like swings the sword like a frying pan, haha, 2016 joke, and smashes it against the wall and splatters it, which is really cool. But the action is crazy and over the top, and you won't get this in any other manga. It's fucking insane.
I like when violence and blood and organs and death and die.
Me too.
I'm not
crazy.
grossed out, but I think this. I'm gonna be real with you. I think this manga just like desensitized me to gore.
I think it has too, because
I feel like that's one of like I guess I could call it a criticism, but it's like it's so like violent and gory sometimes that you kind of have to like dissociate or kind of distance yourself from it a little bit.
Yeah.
Like you can't let yourself get too like entrapped in it.
And there's points where it'll get so into it that I'll just be like, man, like, come on.
Oh, chill.
Yeah, Mira.
It just feels like gore porn sometimes.
Yeah.
But I it's big, yeah. So I guess we could talk about Vargas. That would be the guy with the fucked up face. Not the one that Guts like hurt. He's the weak and frail one who wears like bandages on his face.
Oh yeah, the dude who the Count messed up.
I don't think I remember that guy.
Okay, so essentially,
he's the guy who helps Guts.
Watched his family get eaten by the Count, and the Count like took off parts of his face, like cut off his nose and pulled out his teeth and just did a bunch of fucked up shit to him. So his face is beyond recognition. He destroyed his life, essentially. And you get to see it, too. Like, you get to see the Count looking like a freakish, like, demon thing eating his family, and him just hanging there by chains, and it's, like, the most unsettlingly gross thing ever. It's so fucking creepy. Like, Mira's really good at making shit look scary.
Yeah, I think it's just because like he's very good at lighting, like
it's
very good at lighting.
He's very good at making things cute and really heartwarming and lovable, but he's also very good at making things fucking terrifying. And that actually, I think the cute parts kind of enhance the tragic and darker parts of the manga, because then it's like you start to care about these characters, you start to get attached to them, and then it becomes harder to see them like get hurt. Of course, stylistically it changes over the course of the manga, but not going to talk about that yet.
Oh yeah, since we're still on Mira's art, I want to post this. This was a picture that he made when he was 10. When he was 10.
For real, bro?
Wait, was that actually the age I heard?
Yes.
I thought it was like 17 when he made this, but
no, he was 10, I think.
He was goated with the sauce.
Pasta Man, fact check him real quick.
I thought I know how to fact check him on this. Let me pull up my hacker computer here, dude.
Yeah, no, he made this at 10 years old.
Anyway, I guess going back to Vargas, you can kind of tell this kind of establishes that revenge is a big theme in Berserk, because he's trying to get revenge against the Count. And that just happens to align with Guts' agenda as well.
It's interesting too, because that other guy I was talking about that got his face fucked up and that has like he eats the parasite thing. He's trying to get revenge against Guts, so it's kind of that dissonance of them trying to get revenge against, like him trying to get revenge against Guts, Guts trying to get revenge against a certain character we will not reference yet, and Vargas trying to get revenge against the Count. So obviously, yeah, revenge and conflict is like a big thing in this manga. But yeah, like I think what's interesting about Vargas in particular is that Guts, kind of, even though he's like so harsh to him, and Vargas is like so dead, like he's like, please just kill him for my sake, and Guts is like, no, fuck you, I don't care, fuck you, I'm doing this for me, I ain't doing this for you,
because I wanna.
Essentially what happens is like Vargas like shows him like, hey, I have a Bailet here, and I know about who you are, like I know what happened to you,
I know what you are.
Kobeni. And so he's like, all I'm saying is I completely support you, and I want you to go kill the Count for me, stop the Count, and
he's just like me for real moment right there.
yeah, he pretty much. And so Guts is really harsh towards it. It's so funny. He's like, he pushes him off of him, and Puck's like, what the fuck, man? He's like,
I'm your number one fangirl.
Then Vargas gets captured by the fucking evil guy, and then he gets executed like everybody else. He gets his head cut off on the guillotine, and Puck tries to stop it, and it's really funny because Puck like dashes towards them and then just plinks off of the axe and falls to the ground.
Another Puck moment.
And Guts watches him get his head cut off, and not expecting this, Guts kind of is a little bit affected by it. Like, he starts hallucinating. One thing that keeps happening that I haven't referenced is that Guts keeps having nightmares. It's hard for him to sleep at night. He's been losing sleep. He hasn't been able to rest because he's constantly being pursued by these fucking freakish demons. And he keeps seeing this image of this baby, this weird baby creature that keeps haunting him everywhere he goes. So this baby thing keeps tormenting him all the time. And then when Vargas dies, he looks over and that baby has Vargas's head on it. And he basically kind of sees that as a result of like, I know what I have to do. I will kill the Count. And so that's what leads to him going after the Count.
Yeah, I think it also makes it's kind of the point where you realize that this stuff actually does affect him. You know, as much as he gives off this impression of I don't care about anyone, you know, he still like feels that.
Yeah, I also think that it's just like I think he doesn't want people to get attached to him, or he'll get attached as well.
So I have something to say about that.
Yeah, it's like a coping.
Like at the very
mechanism.
end of the arc, I have something to say about that. But
okay.
Well, I guess we're pretty much there. We can talk about, because I mean we've already established Vargas. Like basically, Guts sees himself in Vargas, and even though he tries to pretend that he doesn't care, he 100% does, and it's all just a cope. So we can talk about the Count and his daughter, and then after that, we can talk about the final battle.
Yeah.
So the Count's got a backstory.
Interestingly enough, the Count, he's been doing all this cruel shit, and you're pretty much convinced at this point that he's a monster. He's just like there's not an empathetic bone in this man's body. And then you find out.
Yeah, he is literally. You did see like a worm thing come out of his mouth.
You find out he's got a daughter, and she is adorable, and he is keeping her trapped in a room like a prisoner to keep her safe because she is his one weakness, and he cannot stand to have anything bad happen to her. So he tells her there's heretics outside, and he spins this whole story about how her mother was killed by these heretics and had like sacrificed to the devil, and that he's cleaning up the street. What he's doing is he's making the world a better place by killing all these people. And she doesn't really know much about his exploits. In fact, she doesn't really know much about her father at all.
She doesn't even know much about the heretics.
All
She's
she
just a
really
little baby.
All she really knows is that she's stuck in this fucking room all the time, and it's practically like she's a prisoner. So I guess we could kind of like, what's y'all's thoughts on the whole plot with the Count and his daughter? Because it took me by complete surprise when I first read it.
I think what shocks me, I think it is kind of interesting that he gets kind of humanized. It's especially interesting what Guts does with this information, but I won't spoil that
I kind of want to explain my thoughts near like the final battle.
I guess we can't really talk about it without talking about the final battle, but I'll kind of get some basic stuff out of the way. Like, Puck meets her, sees what's going on, because the Count captures Puck and then gives him to her as a gift, like a pet. And then Puck and her talk, and she's like, I'm just so lonely in here. And so he's like, basically, Guts kills the other guy, and then he's coming he kicks the door open, and the final battle starts. He's in the throne room with the Count. And Puck basically hears that he's in the castle. So he's like, I've got to go help my friend. And for a second, like, I think her name's Teresia, she, like, is like, no, you can't leave. And then he's, like, kind of freaked out. And then she, for a second there, realizes, like, oh, that's what my father would do. Well, you can go. But it's like she's so desperate for human interaction that she doesn't want... Like, this is the first person she's had to talk to in years, and she doesn't want to let it go. But she decides, because she doesn't want to be like her father and keep anybody prisoner, she decides to let him go. Which is kind of a sad little subtle thing that I, was really emotional.
Yeah. Feels bad, man.
So I guess we can finally talk about pretty much the final battle of this whole thing.
Yeah.
So
and it's more of MYRSA's amazing just action drawings, just great artwork, great violence. But then near the end, can I be the one to explain it?
Yeah.
So the way that Guts wins this battle, and this is the part that like really shocked me, he takes the Count's daughter hostage.
So I feel like we should explain how she even got there. Basically, like, their battle, like, it's a fucking great battle, because, like, the Count is whooping his ass. He's, like, throwing him left and right, and Guts is literally... I think there's, like, an image of Guts, like, if you can find it. If you can't, it's fine. Of his, like, limbs contorted and his fingers bent backwards, and he's struggling to stand up.
He was getting washed.
Oh, wait, I should probably get an image of the Count as, like, this giant monster.
He looks like a giant ball sack. He looks like a giant dick and balls. But, like, Guts fights him, and it's probably the most brutal fight we've had the whole arc. And their fight is so insane that, like, it's rattling the whole building, and Teresia's room, like, the door, like, breaks open. So she gets out and she starts running to the battle. Like, Guts does a lot of interesting stuff during this fight, where at one point, like, he takes one of the men and puts them in his cloak and then leans them up against a pillar so that the Count could get distracted and smash that and kill the wrong person. This is what the Count looks
built
like. Sorry.
Yeah.
Bro built like Wo Chain.
I need to see a soy jack of the Count.
Wait, do you need, like, with the big teeth or just, like, his regular head?
Both. So where was I? So, like, Guts does a lot of, like, strategic moves. Like I said, he put his cloak on one of the soldiers who got smashed to death by the Count. He used him as a distraction. But when Teresia runs into the throne room, she sees her dad, and she's fucking horrified. And Guts uses this as, like, leverage, where the Count is, like, now angry because... It's so funny because it's the Count's fault. He's the one who's been shaking the building around with his massive fucking size. So he's basically the reason his daughter got free and ran in here. But he's blaming it on Guts. He's like, how could Guts do this? And starts, like, going even harder. So Guts is, like, at his limit. He's, like, leaned up against a pillar, just worn the fuck out. And then the Count goes to, like, get him with a final hit, and he grabs her and, like, pulls her over. And it stops him for a moment, and then he, like, hits him with his cannon. And then from that point forward, like, he grabs the sword, cuts his head off, and then he just starts stabbing him violently with a knife in front of his daughter, and, like, mocking his daughter. And yeah, Pasta Man, you can take it from here.
Yeah, that was one of those moments that made me realize, Oh, he's really messed up in the head.
Yeah.
He's kind of a
He
freak
is
with
not your typical like edgy protagonist. He really is
He takes it a
terrible
step
like
further.
that.
Yeah.
And the count like is so fucked. He's like literally a severed head, and he's bleeding, and he's in immense pain. And Guts is just he's getting a sick joy out of this. So he's like, "Look at your dad! Look at his fucked up face! This is what your dad is! This is what he's been doing!" And he's just like stabbing him over and over again, and it's so unhinged.
What a
and then
goat.
Eventually, his blood lands on the Bailet. And so we get some art that kind of looks like what the fuck was that? The movie with David Bowie with the upside down staircases.
I'm pretty sure this was a reference to, but I could post the image. I know this was a
Labyrinth?
reference to some actual famous artwork.
Yeah. It's that one that everybody has seen, but nobody knows who it was made by.
If you could find it, I'd appreciate that. I'm looking for it myself. But
Just
it
look up
reminded me a little
abstract
bit
stairs.
of like, abstract art stairs. But it reminded me of that scene from Labyrinth with David Bowie, where it's just upside down staircase. It's all going everywhere. It's all crazy. I mean, again, like we've already said it like 100 times, and I'll say it again. The fucking art to this is spectacular. I found the piece of art, by the way. It's called Relativity.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I fucking
swag.
sent it to you by accident. God damn it.
Dumbass.
Just me personally. Wait, no, that's what Salt sent to me. Why did you send me this, Salt? Why did I get
can't
this
send
DM
it.
from Saul?
Send it
Why
in.
why did Saul send me this? What do you
That's a
mean by
real
that?
panel. That's how he transforms. Is his wee wee grows inside. And he just...
I thought I couldn't send it.
This is me, if you even care.
Can you?
It's a good piece of art, and that's kind of what this was referencing. I think that's also what Labyrinth was referencing. Oh, so the God Hand come in, and essentially they come in and they're like, probably should post a picture of the God Hand. It's like these 4 deities, and 5 deities now, and one of them is a man named Griffith. That one look you can kind of tell that he and Guts have some kind of history going on, because within seconds of
the
them
most
appearing,
human-looking one.
within seconds of them appearing, one of the God Hands, the one on the left right there with the muscular figure, he kind of looks like Batman. His name is Griffith, though now it's called Femto. And Guts like runs right towards him with his sword in hand, kind of like this picture right here.
Yeah.
And he gets... That is exactly what happened. That is exactly what it looks like.
Yeah, and whoever drew this, I love you. Anyway,
I hate how detailed it is.
So Guts tries to kill Griffith. They've clearly got some kind of history going on, but Griffith is so OP, he just throws him aside without even lifting a finger. And then Guts is just too weak now from the fight with the Count to even do anything about it. But they're not here for Guts. What they're here for is, like, the Count has bled on his Bailet, so now he needs to make a sacrifice. And then he tries to sacrifice Guts. And they laugh, and they're like, you can't sacrifice Guts. He's already been sacrificed. And plus he's somebody you hate. You have to sacrifice someone you love. So does either you want to kind of take over on?
Yeah, it's supposed to be. We kind of skipped over that.
Actually,
but before...
yeah. I this is the bit I wanted to explain. So he has to sacrifice his daughter. He has to sacrifice his daughter, but he can't. He can't do it at all. He has to do it in a certain amount of time, but he refuses to sacrifice it just so he can. He won't do it even if it makes him win against Guts.
Yeah, like, and they try to do anything they can to persuade him. That's the thing about the God Hand, is like the way the Bailet works is like you have to make a sacrifice, and if you don't, after, like, if they don't convince you, because they will do anything they can, god damn it, they will do anything that they can to try and talk you into sacrificing a loved one. But if you can't do it, then you become the sacrifice, and they take you.
And they send you to hell to hack you.
And the Bailet, it always comes for people who are destined. Basically, the God Hand, they can see the strings of fate, and the Bailet only comes to people who are destined to. I mean, I don't know how it fully works, but they pick people. It's like it's telling that they didn't pick Guts, despite all of the suffering he went through.
After December is over, you have to make that your profile picture.
It's not made fully clear how the Bailet works, but essentially the main gist of it is that if you receive it, it's impossible to get rid of. Like it's almost got kind of a demonic thing to it, but we explain more of that in the Golden Age. Basically, like, once your ambition crumbles, you bleed on it, it activates, and you have to sacrifice someone dear to you in order to gain more power. And you can do it multiple times. You can sacrifice one person, and then you can sacrifice another person. But if you don't make a sacrifice, you're wasting their time, so they take you. That's essentially how it works. They go to any extent they can to try and convince you to do it. And they will take a blow even as low as showing her a, like, magical visual, like, reenactment or, like, a visual memory of what actually happened. Because as far as she knew, like, he said that she got killed by, like, what, pagans or something?
Heretics.
Sacrificed heretics. They, like, ripped her
Oh, wait,
heart
no,
out.
yeah, pagans. Like, she was, his wife was doing, like, this
She
pagan...
was doing the nasty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she was doing, like, this pagan ritual thing. I can't fully remember.
So do you want to go into that, Salt, since it's mostly just been me and Pasta Man, kind of?
Yes, please. Okay, so
Okay.
what happens is that the Count finds his wife doing, like, this kind of, like, pagan orgy thing.
Pagan orgy, yeah.
Yeah, and then, like, I can't remember fully what happens, but, like, he sacrifices his wife to the Bailet in the God Hand, and that's how he became this, like, ultra monster. And, like, but, like, you see here, he can't do that again because, like, his daughter didn't his daughter's done nothing wrong, and he's the only thing that he cares about anymore. I mean, she is the only thing that the Count cares
She's the
about
only thing
anymore.
he has left, basically, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's also interesting because, like,
it actually kind of humanizes the Count a little bit.
Well, yeah,
And, like, you actually kind of feel bad for the Count after this.
Yeah. Basically,
He
like,
sacrificed his wife because he was a sad boy.
he sacrificed his wife because he was angry that she didn't just cheat on him. She, like, went to a whole ass orgy and, like, looked at him like, yeah, bitch, what you gonna do about it when she did it? Like, and so, you know, normal thing to get mad over, but definitely not normal to sacrifice them to hell for it.
Yeah.
But it's a very, like, he was only able to sacrifice her because of his anger and his feelings of, like, being betrayed by what she did, of, like, choosing to cheat on him. But he wasn't able to do that with his daughter because his daughter really didn't do anything. If anything, he was the problem. So it's kind of an interesting sort of dilemma there. And of course, he doesn't sacrifice her and instead gets carried into the void by Vargas. Hilariously, Vargas is, like, at the top of this tower of bodies that come down and grab him.
Yeah, it's like, I think this is also kind of like, I think this is kind of a reference to the second circle in hell in Dante's Inferno, because, like, it's just a pile of wind of people just all bunched up together, and then Vargas, like, insults him saying, hey, Count, time to come to hell, bitch.
Yeah. You can see Vargas right there. It's such a funny panel.
How do you adapt this, dude?
I don't fucking.
I mean, you don't, I guess.
That's the neat part. You don't. So
Is there heaven in Berserk? I highly doubt it, but
I don't really know, to be honest.
Is
Everything
there
just looks
anyone
like
in
hell.
Berserk who would go to heaven?
that is a very good point.
Shirke and Casca. Two characters that
Zod.
come up way later. No. No. Not Zod. A bunch of characters that come up way later that we'll talk about in a separate video. Anyway, the way it ends, which of you wants to talk about the part?
Let me do this. Let me do this, please. I've not
Tell us
talked
about
that
the
much.
greatest panel in manga history.
Okay, so
Everything goes back
after.
everything goes back to normal. The hurricane goes away, the god hand go away, and then
Yeah, so after the daughter has seen all that, Guts literally just says, "Game in yourself if you're that sad." Literally,
Yeah,
go
like,
build
she-
a bridge and jump off it.
It's
What
it
a
became a
legend.
reaction image. So basically, she's like pissed at him for what he did because he killed her dad. And even though she learned all of this horrible stuff about him, she can't bring herself to hate her dad.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of conflicting feelings in her heart, and she's like, I'm just gonna kill myself. And so he's just like, do it, I don't fucking care. Anyway, so
The cinematic
basically
parallels.
what happens is like after he says that, she's like so emotionally distraught by that she kind of stumbles and like I think the ground below her breaks and she starts to fall. And so he like saves her quickly, like uses his sword, the very sword, mind you, that has saved his own life countless times. He saves her with it and then like throws her back onto land. And so then you can say what you're saying, Saul.
Okay, and then like after that bit, the daughter is so mad at Guts, but then you just see Guts leaving off, and then Puck asks him, "Why the hell are you like this?" And then you see this panel.
Yeah,
He was
It's
just
a-
a sad boy.
it's really fucking
You
heart-wrenching.
can tell that he's actually very hurt by this.
He's
and
very
all those
guilty
times,
of it. Like
he hates what he's doing. He hates.
I
what
think
he's
it's
doing.
like his like moment of she's just like me.
yeah,
Yeah, you
basically
can
like
actually tell that
So-
Guts is not happy with his situation, and like he hates kind of this coping mechanism that he's using.
he hates what he's become essentially. And I think what's interesting is that this happens literally right before like the next arc. This is the end of the arc, and the next arc opens up. I'm talking like the next page is Guts' backstory. So I think that's there to establish that like he sees himself in her, and he basically just became like he was not able to be there for her in the way that like that nobody was there for him when he was a kid. And that he feels some kind of complicit or like guilt in that. But what's also really interesting about this part is that I think the reason he told her to kill herself was not necessarily out of a sense of like cruelty, like your life is meaningless. It's partially his philosophy on life of like, if you can't survive, if you can't find the will to live, then just go ahead and end it now, essentially. But also,
I think it was also kind of motivation for her, somewhat.
yeah, he said something cruel to her in order to get her to hate him enough that she would swear revenge against him, which she does. She says, like, I'm going to hunt you down and I'm going to kill you someday. And so, because revenge has been the thing that has helped him cling on to life for so long, it's kind of like that old boy quote of, like, revenge is healthy, like, because it has given him a reason to keep going and keep fighting and keep surviving. And so he gives her, that's the only thing he knows to do for her in that moment.
And that's why he told a 10-year-old child to kill herself.
I mean, yeah, that is, you know. Like,
There was all a reason.
There's always a reason for everything in Berserk, even if it's like the most fucked up thing ever.
Okay, I will say it is a very good arc. It establishes the tone for Berserk very well, but I don't think it's... Well, actually, I don't know if this is kind of a contradicting statement to say, but I don't think it's like a very good way to get people in, because like a lot of it is kind of just like edging to be edging until you get the full context, which is why I can understand.
I like my edging.
Yeah.
Okay. No.
Yeah, it's like, but I can see like why people would be
I've been edging
like,
this whole podcast.
Okay, can you stop fucking interrupting me?
I'm sorry.
Okay, but I can see why people would just see this as like just being edgy to be edgy. But like I think the payoff, once you get to the payoff, that final page where Guts is being said, like, oh, you get it. Oh,
Yeah,
you get it.
I think there's quite a bit of depth in this arc. It's just that compared to all the later arcs, I can see why some people would say like, the Golden Age arc is like a better start because it gives you a better first impression of Guts.
Yeah, I think the epilogue, like I said, this arc kind of functions like a prologue, and I think it's a good like hook. It's definitely a little strange chronologically, but it gets you like interested in like Guts, and like it gets you wondering what like made him like this. What is his history with the God Hand? And so it makes you like ask questions that the Golden Age arc answers. And I think that's why I like it.
Yeah, it's a solid. It's short. It's sweet. We still clearly had a lot to say about it, and it's just a very solid. It's the basis, kind of like planting the seed for the story, and the foundation of all that.